U.S. President Donald Trump is headed to the Middle East this week to hold a summit with Gulf state leaders. It is his first official foreign trip, and it highlights the Trump administration's growing focus on economic cooperation with Gulf nations. It is also taking place amid turbulent geopolitical tensions in the region. Nick Harper has more.
It's time for deal-making. As with his first term, US President Donald Trump has chosen the Middle East as the location for the first major foreign trip of his second term, a choice that speaks volumes about his presidential and personal priorities.
During his first administration,
Gordon Gray is a former ambassador and the Kuwait professor of Gulf and Arabian Peninsula Affairs at George Washington University.
He's very interested in pursuing commercial deals. He's very interested in trade, and the Middle East, and particularly the Gulf countries he's visiting, are certainly areas that are very ripe for good deals for U.S. businesses.
The Trump administration is trying to force the countries to choose trade with the US over China. But some analysts, like Jennifer Gavito, formerly with the State Department and now non-resident senior fellow with the Atlantic Council, warn that a one or the other choice may not be in the country's best interests.
As they look at that strategic choice, I think they're increasingly faced with a world in which U.S. foreign policy can shift rather dramatically. And so rather than, kind of banking the Trump administration, which I think a lot of people expected to happen, there is a lot of thinking going on in the Gulf right now about how reliable the United States is as a long-term partner.
President Trump also has sizable personal portfolios in these countries. His son Eric Trump was recently in Qatar to announce the country's first Trump-branded real estate project in a $5.5 billion deal. And there'll soon be Trump Towers in Dubai, Jeddah and Riyadh, and more Trump golf courses in all three of the countries that he's visiting. In his first term, one of Donald Trump's signature foreign policy achievements were the Abraham Accords, the normalization of diplomatic relations between Israel and the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco and Sudan. Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff has hinted more names could be added to that list, but one name in particular seems unlikely. Saudi Arabia and Israel had been close to agreeing a deal before Hamas's October 7th attack in 2023. Since then, the Saudi Crown Prince has accused Israel of committing genocide in Gaza. Ambassador Gray thinks it would be very difficult for the Saudis to normalize relations with Israel during this trip.
I think the flaw of the Abraham Accords was that they were built on a faulty premise, which is the world can ignore the Palestinian issue and everything will be fine in the Middle East. And as we so sadly found out on October 7th and subsequently, that's simply not the case.
The Gulf states have also been influential as mediators in conflicts besetting the region. Qatar and the US have worked together on the conflict in Gaza, and Oman has helped mediate between the US and Iran and facilitated the Houthi ceasefire in Yemen. Iran is also likely to factor in discussions as the US moves nearer to a possible deal to limit the country's nuclear capabilities, which would provide regional stability and a welcome relief for the other Gulf nations. Nick Harper, CNA, Washington.